So for a while now, I have seen Chinese mods on the Steam Workshop for EU4 that really do look quite well made, but of course I can't really get into them because I can't read Chinese. But one of these mods have now been translated to English, and we now have Pax Solis, meaning Peace of the Sun, I believe, which is a translation of this Chinese mod. And this essentially makes EU4 a bit more, a lot more focused on and detailed in East Asia. And as you will see, a lot of work and love very clearly has gone into making this mod. So first of all, this map is absolutely gorgeous. So from the texturing of uncolonized terrain, to the sea tiles, to the work that has gone into making these impassable provinces, perhaps especially in Asia, but I mean around the rest of the world as well. So without further ado, I think we can jump into this and have a look at how incredibly detailed this mod actually is. So as China, or perhaps rather the Ming dynasty in this mod, really do start as the Middle Kingdom in a way that you don't in the main game, vanilla EU4. So you have over 2,000 development at the game start, and you absolutely dwarf the other great powers. Now, of course, this is not unrealistic, because China was a really developed and populated country historically. I honestly think it's a bit of a shame that just how populated and developed China and India were historically generally doesn't really make it into Paradox games, because you know it it would be so game breaking. So I think that you would have to rebalance the entire game for that to be possible, sadly. And yeah, you start with an absolutely colossal vassal swarm of various kinds. So you have 4 kinds of vassals, I think, at the start. Let me look at it here. So you have Xian here, Jian, I think, yeah, prince vassal, and then you have varying degrees of autonomy. Yeah, you can see it goes on and on. So from tributaries to essentially autonomous provinces of China itself. Especially these, I suppose. And oh yeah, you also start with Ashikaga, and then in turn essentially Japan as a tributary state here. Now one thing that you perhaps would immediately think here is that this makes China disgustingly overpowered at the start, and that might be the case, but there are some efforts to counterbalance this a bit as well in the mod. So this is also quite realistic. You essentially punish a state for being too big here. So having a big military, being a big state, makes the state less efficient to administer, and it does give you some penalties in this regard. And that is of course also very realistic. So say for China to be administered as efficiently as it would be possible for Venice, Venice would be not even possible to dream of, I suppose, because of the sheer scope of the territory that the state controls. And you also have crises that are intended to also help bring about this pattern that is very characteristic of Chinese history, where you have a stable dynasty controlling most or perhaps all of China for very long periods of time, before you have a great period of upheaval where you see a shattering of the central authority with the state breaking off and a lot of internal strife, before you then again see a new dynasty, or perhaps rather authority, rise and then again unify China. So this is the Chinese dynasty crisis here. So 51 years after the game starts, then you'll have to struggle with, oh no, at least 1640, okay. A bit into the game you will have to struggle with that as China. Empire of China has been reworked as well. So you have more celestial reforms and more decrees. So the final reform here transform you, I think, into a, rather than say a dynastic state, a more of a Chinese nation state, I believe. Yeah, and you have the option to pass a decree to be a really terrible ruler, or a slightly terrible ruler for different reasons, and various decisions as well. Some giving permanent buffs throughout it, some interesting ones, and some more related to religion, where you have a system where you go from Qing Confucianism to Li Confucianism. And you still have the option to harmonize religions, like base game Confucianism. And you also have new buildings. So that's entertainment and infrastructure. Yeah, you have some interesting buildings. But yeah, entertainment and infrastructure you may build around your provinces. Oh. Yeah. And of course China also has a huge mission tree to boot, but perhaps even more adds even more flavor is the work that has gone into making great projects here. So you can see that East Asia has a lot of great projects here, and this is something that it probably deserves more of in the base game as well, because yeah, there really is a lot of historical architecture in China that really is outstanding and awe-inspiring, I suppose. So you have, say, the Great Wall now in several provinces. I know that this is in the base game as well. And in Beijing you now have several new wonders as well. So the Temple of Heaven has now joined the Forbidden City together with the Summer Palace. And these three I have actually visited, and this as well. So that's kind of cool to see them all now be in-game. And of course you have a lot of other great projects around China. I think there may have been some added in Japan as well, but no, maybe not. But yes, a lot of extra flavor to China here. So I think I might end the video here. If you would like to see a playthrough, and that is a little bit roleplay based, where I try to see if I can make the Great Ming survive and eventually directly form a Chinese nation state rather than falling to the Qing dynasty. Then let me know and perhaps have a look at the mod yourself. I really hope that more of these pretty well-made Chinese mods eventually do get English translations and become available to the Western EU4 community. Well, until then, see you around.